Hey guys, so for today's lecture, what I'm going to be doing is I will continue working with Freddy. Now there's a bind version already in the PO4 starter, so if you download that file, then unzip it, you will find a couple of seeds in here. So the base, the bind, and the controllers. I'm going to be talking about bind and controllers in a minute. So I'm going to launch Maya, and once I have that, I'm going to set up my project. So that is on my desktop, PO4 starter, set that scene, and then I'm just going to open my first off bind. So with this one, it's sort of a better version of the first part of this homework assignment, in which you were allowed to create the joints and everything for Freddy and bind them in the right place. This one, on the other hand, already contains all of the binds for Freddy, and it's already a functional skeleton. So there's a couple of things that I want to talk about in this one. I will change my UV editor workspace to the animation workspace. This one is going to be showing me the animation curves. And if you've never worked with animation curves in other software, it's a really neat way of creating animations, right? So for instance, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this leg and I'm going to be moving the leg up. I'm going to press S, and as soon as I do that, see my view changed over here. It's saying that I have the tide selected, and it created a keyframe over here. Although the keyframe it's not that noticeable, I would say, because it's really just a point. There's nothing interpolating in between these points yet. So I'm going to be moving up to, I'm going to change these to, let's just do 60 frames. It's fine. So I'm going to do 60. I'm going to go 1 all the way to 60. And in 60, what I'm going to do is move it all the way to the back. And I'm going to press S again. So S is going to create my keyframe as you have experience in other parts. The channel layer editor would be another way of doing that. I will need to go to channels keyable, and I will be keying it all. Now, if I take a look at this, the transition between the two is sort of linear, right? So I can make it smaller or a little bit larger, but take a look at the value, right? So it starts down here. You can see where 0 is located. Let me move closer to that area. And you can see that the value starts in -60, around -60 is the first value that I located this. Right, so let's do -75. And I'm going to press S, and that is going to update my keyframe. See that? Put it over here. Oh, 75. I need to click here first before I press the shortcut, because otherwise it will just put it in that field. But see, it changed over to this area. Now, if I go to the next frame, which is this one here, I want to move it on this area, and I'm gonna do same numbers, so it's straightforward, 75, and channels keyable, and that is gonna update this part. So this down here is an animation curve. This is a way of modifying how my keyframe is going to be affected. I can technically just select that part and then move it onto a different position, and that is going to be updating that. You see, the curve is going all the way here, and it's pretty accentuated going all the way to the top. So if I select this joint and I move it all the way here, that is going to create this curve, right? So it is basically going to let me move the value. See, I'm selecting by value and then just changing it. Let me hit play. That is going to follow that. And it's doing this weird movement because it's doing X times the revolution. So I can sort of try to position that on 75. And I'm going to put my other one at 75 back. Channels, as soon as I do the keyable, it is going to move it down. Okay, so over there, that is going to be modifying my curve. But there are multiple things that I can do to this animation curve, and that has to do with the tangent. If I select just the tangent of that curve, let me zoom in to make it a little bit more clear what I'm doing. I'm selecting this guy. I can move it up. Even though the keyframe started at -75 and +75, this is going up. And so I'm going to start here. It's going to move all the way up. It's going to do a couple of turns. And then you see how it's turning back the opposite direction. Working with animation curves is really powerful because you can make the animation behave in a different way, right? So this is going to be a really extreme example. It's doing so many revolutions and then it's going to go the opposite way. And I don't want it to be like that. So there's a couple of things that I can do with the tangents. I can break this, just make it completely linear. And then the animation curve, do you see it's going that way and then going down? That is not affecting this keyframe in particular because there is no other thing going on over there. So I'm going to say 100. And after that, in 100, I'm going to do a different rotation. So let's do it like this. Channels, keyable. And you will see that by default, Maya is going to try to do a curve onto this. So even though it's going into the same direction, when I broke the tangent, it's going to be doing this sort of movement. That's not what I want, right? So I can just select the first curve, linear, and that is going to be doing the whole thing for all of it. Or I can select this guy and then just get close to it a little bit here, and then just move it a little bit down. If I want to, I can break the tangent. I think this is the shortcut for that. Yeah, break tangents. And I can do that movement. And after selecting that, I will be able to move it down. You see, it's not affecting the other side. And I can do one linear on this side and then a little bit curved on the other one. So this is pretty linear. And it's doing this movement because it's going down before it moves up back again. See, so I'm going to hit play on that. And it's going to do this movement and then moving down and moving up, sort of like a kick with just 2 keyframes. All right. So if I wanted to do a sort of like he's kicking a soccer ball or something, moving up, moving down, and then moving up, just to do another hit, probably with this value down here. Changing the translation as well. That's why it's complaining. I don't want the translation. I just want this one. So here, right? So he's taking that. He's shooting. Well, my value is super long. It's in the thousands, right? But that's why this is doing that. Okay, so animation curves, they're great because they're gonna let me tune the animation with just modifying a single keyframe, and that is going to be it for that part. There's a lot of things that you can play with in this one. I don't want to overburden you. You can just play with all of the individual settings that you have. Spline tangents is going to let me create a tangent with just multiple points. The most useful are really going to be whenever you want to do a linear tangent so that the value just goes straight. And in many cases, when you copy and paste a keyframe, that is going to be modified, right? So if I take 60, I'm going to copy that. Actually, no, let's copy this one to be more extreme. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste it here. What you will see is that the animation curve is actually doing this sort of wobbly movement, right? It's going in a tangent, but that is going to be following a curve. And in many cases, what you want is really just the thing to be completely forward with a straight line. So animation curves are great. They're really, really useful. But for the kind of animations that we're going to be doing in this semester, it's not really something to worry about. Just wanted to point out that this is a tool that is available there, and I'm going to be talking about the next one.